Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Our products are ready for mass production. Missile guidance accuracy leads the world. Chen Dao sat in a restaurant, his eyes fixed on the TV hanging on the wall. Watching the press conference being held on TV, and the playboy who was talking. His expression was stunned for a moment. Then sighed, I didn't expect to cross over to this point in time. That's right. Chen Dao is not a person from this world. It's only been a week since I crossed over. A week ago, he just opened his eyes. I thought I had traveled to a parallel world. But then he saw it with his own eyes. With a gunshot, a person was stunned and fell in a pool of blood. It was daylight. He realized something was wrong. In less than half a day, he passed through the original memory and the narration of the people around him. Learn that this is New York's Hell's Kitchen. Where you live, or the slums in it. At this time, Chen Dao already had some guesses. It's just that he doesn't dare to confirm it. Until in the high school where he originally attended, after meeting Peter Parker, who was bullied. That familiar face immediately made him understand that he had indeed traveled into the Marvel world. Just as he was recalling what had happened during the week. At this moment, the press conference is nearing its end. Looking at Tony Stark, Chen Dao came back to his senses and exhaled deeply. By this time, he had thoroughly figured out his situation. Now, the time is still on the eve of Tony's kidnapping. This future Iron Man is still just a playboy running a military business. Even his classmate Peter Parker still hasn't gotten rid of school bullying. And most importantly, at this time period, the Supreme Mage has not yet appeared. He is still guarding the entire planet. It is certain that most of the major events in the Marvel world have not yet unfolded. If say, put it a week ago. Chen Dao will definitely find a way to hide, wait for the big event to come, and take advantage of it. After all, the Marvel world is too dangerous. The number of people with great abilities is innumerable. One accidentally got involved in the whirlpool, and even the whole corpse was left. Where can you save your life? Especially where he lives now, it is still Hell's Kitchen. It's a crime haven for all of New York. A place where you can kill in broad daylight. The night is darker. Chen Dao is just an ordinary person now, as long as he can live. But, just now, a mechanical sound sounded in his ears. The strongest containment system is bound successfully. 1%. 2%. 100%. Host authentication. Chen Dao's eyes suddenly lit up. Whether to confirm the identity of the host. Where there is any hesitation. Confirm. The voice just fell. Chen Dao only heard a ding sound. A translucent virtual screen unfolded in front of Chen Dao's eyes. He couldn't wait to look at the system. System, what do you do? Heard Chen Dao's inquiry. The emotionless mechanical sound of the system sounded again. The host is the one chosen by the strongest containment system, which aims to collect endless fears. First, the system will have a containment event at a random moment in the week. Second, as long as the containment and host bring fear to the world, the head of the household can obtain containment value. Third, containment value can be exchanged for containment capacity that has already appeared. After Chen Dao listened, a shocked expression appeared on his face. The capabilities of this system are really powerful. Chen Dao, who crossed over, did not know the existence of containment. It's a bunch of conceptual horrors. Bringing out a dangerous level containment at random may be able to completely turn this world upside down. Even if this is Marvel, it is difficult to fight against the terrifying containment in Chen Dao's memory. Chen Dao King breathed a sigh of relief and returned himself to calm. And at this moment, next to the system panel, a countdown appeared. As soon as the countdown appeared, it immediately began to beat. The sound of the system arrived as promised. 10 minutes later, the advent begins. Chen Dao's brows immediately furrowed. I didn't expect it to come so quickly. This is the first containment event to come. He must gain strength with this incident. Being in the Marvel Universe has always been an ordinary person, which has always made it difficult for him to feel at ease. Chen Dao withdrew his gaze. Silently thinking in his heart, he opened the newbie gift package that the system had just gifted. Get a live streaming card. Seeing this prop, Chen Dao immediately laughed. It's time to start a live broadcast and let the world experience the horror of containment. Now, Chen Dao can't wait to let the world fall into shock. As for the appearance of containments, will it turn the world upside down? Nor is it in the scope of Chen Dao's consideration. For him, as long as he can become strong, he can do whatever it takes. The ability to extract containment is equivalent to rules, and one day the so-called gods of this world will also be trampled under my feet. Chen Dao only had this thought in his mind. Hold the live card. Chen Dao's eyes were staring at the countdown. As time passes slowly, the number goes to 0. The next moment, Chen Dao immediately crushed the live broadcast card in his hand. Hiss! In this instant, all electronic devices in the world seem to be interfered with by an invisible force. Everyone around the world is attracted to it. Before everyone had time to think about what was in front of them, all the screens appear in one picture. A man wearing a white mask suddenly appeared in the picture. Meanwhile, what? One by one, the projections unfolded over each city like a scroll. That huge projection made countless people stunned. They had no idea exactly what was going on. All this seems to have far exceeded their imagination. Wait until the projection is fully unfolded. Countless people fixed their eyes on it. The person who appeared inside was the man wearing a white mask on countless electronic devices before. This image shocked everyone even more. When have they encountered this before? After a long time. Only then did ordinary people come to their senses. They stared at this screen. The shock on his face never faded. In addition, the picture that appears on the screen of his mobile phone is exactly the same as the projection. It's even more weird. Quite a few people came out of the house. Look up at the projection. Muttered. Who the hell made this stuff? Chapter 2. Everything is far beyond the knowledge of all ordinary people. It's bizarre. Project the picture onto all electronic devices. This means that the information technology of the entire Earth has been completely controlled by the people who appear in this picture. Countless people were shocked, and their heads went blank. Is this the technology that the Earth can have? It will not be those big countries that have developed any new black technology. Not to mention the electronic devices that invaded the world, just this real holographic projection. It's amazing enough. Has technology reached this level? Countless people were shocked in their hearts. Compared to the average person, only the big powers and high-level officials who control the power of the Earth can understand what this means. With their abilities, it is difficult to make even a real projection. Like the projection that is now all over the world, they can't imagine it. And the intrusion into all electronic devices. If they had such abilities, they would have ruled the Earth long ago. The faces of the top brass of all countries are written with shock. What a means this is, it seems to be above the Earth, making people tremble. End the press conference and return to Tony in his lab. Jarvis, an artificial intelligence he has created, is being debugged. A smile appeared on his face. As a genius, he is naturally very proud to look at his masterpiece. Hello sir, I'm Jarvis, now serve you. Jarvis, who had just started, had not finished speaking, and immediately fell into silence. The smile on Tony's face froze instantly. Stunned on the spot. Jarvis's current performance is obvious, that is, someone directly hacked into the system. Tony was puzzled at this point. My lab is highly top secret. Even when Jarvis was launched, it had already been physically cut off from the outside world. How could it be invaded at this time? Such an unscientific thing suddenly made Tony's forehead break out in a cold sweat. He was anxiously trying to restart. But no matter how he operated, all the equipment in the laboratory was no longer under his control. Suddenly, the projection on the side opens. In Tony's shocked expression, the white masked man appears in the picture. Earth still has this terrifying technology. Tony broke out in a cold sweat. After a few more attempts, Tony had given up completely. With artificial intelligence technology that has been decades ahead of the Earth, it cannot resist this invasion. It's a little beyond imagination. He pulled out his phone. Ben wanted to see the time, but suddenly found that the screen of his mobile phone, and the white masked man also appeared. At this time, he finally couldn't sit still. Hurriedly walked out of the lab. Just got outside. I found a projection in the sky. Tony was instantly shocked. This won't be an alien invasion, how can Earth have any technology? Tony's eyes widened, and then fell silent. Himalayas, Karmataj. All the mages who were practicing spells saw the projections in the sky. Their group of mages possess powerful spells. But to create such a realistic projection in the sky, they can't do it. Supreme Mage Guyi also raised his head. The projected picture shocked his heart. He was sure. I don't see this picture in all the future and the past. He held the time gem in his hand for hundreds of years. It's absolutely impossible to miss any picture on the timeline. All this made him nervous, and the time gem on his chest began to flicker with a faint light. Furyuki slowly closed his eyes. But when he opened his eyes again, the whole person became terrified. You can't see the change in this projection at all. Guyi was completely shocked. None of the time gems can deduce this projection. Shield. Nick Fury, sitting in the office, frowned. All the surveillance screens in his office had white masked men appearing. It was actually able to invade S.H.I.E.L.D. This is something that hasn't happened in decades. This method made Nick Fury feel horrified. According to the situation reported by his subordinates, such a situation has occurred in the entire United States, including the world. This shocked Nick Fury even more. What kind of technology is this? The whole Earth cannot resist. Especially the huge projection outside. You can see it wherever you are in the world. Their SHIELD technology is already the best in the world. But if you want to do such a device that invades the world, you can even project so many pictures in the sky. That's simply not practical. It won't really be an alien invasion. The more Nick Fury thought about it, the more nervous he felt. He hurriedly called Carlson. Let everyone move, I want to know what is up there as fast as possible. If you don't figure it out soon. Nick Fury felt sleepless. And the other side. As a former SHIELD director, he is now appointed by the World Security Council as the Minister of World Security, overseeing all departments of the World Security Council, Alexander Pierce. I also feel a headache about the sudden situation. He is now in Hydra, the most secret stronghold. A place that counts as headquarters. Here, even SHIELD is not clear. Hydra compared to SHIELD. The cutting-edge technology is not far behind. The Hydra, which holds a bunch of black technology, is definitely a behemoth on the Earth today. But that's the kind of organization. It was directly invaded. No matter what kind of black technology they use, they can't cut off these pictures. The researchers all looked at each other, and their hearts were full of shock. This means is completely above them. Pierce was equally impressed. Hydra has not known how long it has not been like this. Now it has been quietly invaded, and there is no ability to resist. This shocked Pierce at the same time, and his face became more and more gloomy. He looked at his subordinates in front of him. The tone was cold and terrifying. I don't care what method you use, let me do whatever it takes to investigate what happened. Faced with such a terrible situation, Pierce also had to get nervous. After all, such means are terrible. Looking at the projection outside, Pierce was even more frightened. Time passes by minute. Countless people looked up at the projection, watching nervously. At this time, there was a sound in the picture. The man in the white mask, who had not spoken, finally spoke. Gentlemen of Earth, are you ready? The game is about to start. The voice of the white masked man was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. Chapter 3. The words of the white masked man made the world stunned. Game? What game? Countless people looked at the white masked man, and there were doubtful expressions on their faces. At this time, everyone reacted. Who is the person who appears in the picture? The emotions that everyone had finally calmed down made people tremble again with the words of the white masked man. There has been a lot of talk all over the world. What is the origin of this person? He was the one who made it all. If it's really the handiwork of this masked man, it's too terrifying. Thinking of this global impact, countless people are more and more shocked. Everyone is speculating about the origin of this white masked man. After all, the means of invading the world and creating global projections are too scary. They don't know the identity of the white masked man, but they all understand that this man has the power to subvert the world. People from countless forces and countries are even more nervous to the extreme. The mysterious masked man did not make these high-level people afraid. They were shocked that there was a very deep hidden organization behind it. No one believes that the white masked man is just a person. Can't you find the identity of this white masked man? Nick Fury abruptly stood up from his chair. His face was full of shock. What kind of person is this white masked man? At this time, he was more certain. There must be a powerful hidden organization behind it. Being able to have such great power to erase all traces of the white masked man. Nick Fury felt more and more hearted. Chills. This time, a high-profile secretary knocked on the door. After getting Nick Fury's consent, he left. Director, the white masked man is identified and cannot correspond to anyone on the planet. Nick Fury's face immediately froze. As long as anything that has appeared on Earth, even if SHIELD can't fully figure it out, it won't be able to find even a trace. At this moment, his brows furrowed. Where did the people come from? This person and the existence behind it are absolutely unfathomable. In Nick Fury's mind, this figure that suddenly appeared, and the organization that may be hidden behind it. It was even more terrifying than he had imagined. Perhaps the Earth will really face an unprecedented crisis. Nick Fury took the information and redid it with a sad face. Now he has no idea what happened to all this. I can only stare patiently at the screen, waiting for the follow-up. At this time, the picture in the projection has changed. The figure of the white masked man suddenly pulled away. A round table appears in the picture. The position where the white masked man is sitting at this moment is on the side of the round table. He stretched out a hand and tapped lightly on the tabletop. All at once it lifted everyone's hearts. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. The voice of the white masked man was a little teasing. I'm from the Foundation, and my status is just an ordinary staff member. This sentence instantly caused an uproar in the world. Countless countries have begun to act, and huge national bases are constantly operating. This sudden appearance of the organization caught them off guard. Although there have been conjectures for a long time. But now after it has been confirmed, it is still shocking. An organization that wields such a terrifying means is terrifying to think about. When Nick Fury heard this, he also showed a resolute expression. There is really a mysterious organization behind this, but I don't know what the purpose of this organization is. Nick Fury's heart became more and more nervous. A mysterious and unknown organization is far more feared than any terrorist force. In particular, this organization has such means far beyond human technology. This is even more worrying. Meanwhile, just from Hydra's headquarters, back to the safety committee's Pierce. The face was equally gloomy. He couldn't imagine that such a terrifying organization suddenly popped out under his nose. As with SHIELD, no matter how hard Hydra tried, he couldn't find the white masked man and the so-called foundation behind it. There is no record from ancient times that this is called the organization of the Foundation. Pierce's heart was full of tremors. If this organization has always existed on Earth, it was even scarier than he had imagined. The white masked man paused for a moment after introducing himself. Slowly lowered his head slightly. The tone also became a little frightening. Human beings were born hundreds of thousands of years ago, but the time to resist fear and the unknown is far away, much longer than this. Just hearing these words made everyone feel extremely frightened. And the words of the white masked man are not over. For a long time, the Foundation was founded in the fight against these horrors that we cannot understand. It controls all containments, keeping darkness out of sight. Accompanied by the words of the white masked man. After a flash of the picture, a white, shield-like logo appeared. We control, we contain, we protect. Immediately, a clip of the establishment of the Foundation appeared in the picture. After waiting for all this to end, everyone was horrified to see that the sky full of gods and demons appeared in the picture. The destructive power caused by these gods and demons made countless people tremble. Those who walk on the ground alone, huge and hideous demons. It is enough to destroy a city. Such a terrifying picture really scared all ordinary people to the point of softness. The picture still doesn't stop. Dangerous containments appear in the picture. The ordinary humans in the projection did not even have a chance to live for a few seconds in the face of these terrifying containments. However, at the end of the picture, there are many people in strange costumes who capture these terrifying containments. Bloody fear. It seems to run through the entire Foundation. Wait for the screen to end. The world fell into silence. Even Nick Fury, looking at these pictures, couldn't help but be stunned in place. As the director of SHIELD, he is also a top agent himself. It is not difficult to see that the degree of realism of these pictures cannot be faulted at all. Is all this true? What is shown in the picture is really terrible. This means that foundations have always existed on Earth. Resist everything. Cold sweat instantly soaked his back. If this is the case, why is there no record of the Foundation left on the Earth, not even a trace? And, now it pops up out of nowhere. What purpose are they holding now? The thought of this organization is terrible. Nick Fury felt his hands and feet tremble. Karmatage. Supreme Mage Guyi withdrew his gaze. Crying on his face. The group in the picture says it has been fighting terror. But in the past, and in the future, there is no existence of this organization at all. Especially now, when it comes to projections and white masks, people, the future becomes blurred. Is this organization already out of time? What is the purpose of such an organization? Guyi felt boundless horror. The picture flickered again. The figure of the white masked man reappeared. His words rang out. The Foundation took everything in, and as a staff member, I was naturally involved. But it's all so boring. Even if I'm from a Foundation. But I destroyed him. Chapter 4. Originally, everyone was already shocked by the real picture. Are terrified by this mysterious and terrifying organization. But no one expected that the words of the white masked man would make everyone feel frightened. If the picture is real, the strength of the Foundation can be imagined. I am afraid that even the current Earth cannot touch the fur. Such a terrifying organization would be destroyed in the hands of the white masked man in front of him. It's not a joke, is it? This white masked man destroys this terrible organization. It was an organization that could fight against gods and demons. If the white masked man is not lying, it means that he has the power to subvert the earth. Countless people were shocked. What purpose does such a character have for the earth? Nick Fury also trembled in his heart after hearing these words. Let's not talk about whether the Foundation is really as powerful as in the video. The live broadcast method that the white masked man showed before alone is enough to make people fearful. Moreover, the words of the white masked man are obviously not a peaceful person. Nick Fury finally calmed the shock in his heart. Thinking again, the white masked man said that he wanted to play a game. Suddenly, the inner uneasiness reached the extreme. The masked man who can destroy a terrorist organization, what purpose does he have? He can never simply play the game. Now. Pictured. After the white masked man finished speaking, he raised his hand and waved. A prison cell suddenly appeared behind him. In this prison, you can faintly see a figure standing in it. It's just that the prison is too dark. No one can see what it looks like. The Foundation believes in order, so it takes these things in. But I think order is too boring, and I prefer disasters in comparison. After saying all this, he turned away. Turning your back to everyone on the planet. This cell is holding containment. These containments have been controlled for too long, and it's time to see the light of day. Are you ready for this game? Everyone who heard these words felt their scalps tingle. They didn't expect that the game that the white masked man said would mean this way. Anyone who has seen the projection must have seen the terrifying existence that appeared in the previous picture. Once these things are real, they appear in reality. What do ordinary people take to resist all this? It won't be this white masked man who is alarmist. I don't believe there is such a thing. How come no one has found out who released this video? All over the world, everyone is talking about it. But the white masked man in the picture did not pay attention to it at all. Still talking to himself. There may be people who don't want to believe it, but that's the truth. If you are not prepared enough, you can only wait for death. The white masked man's tone was extremely cold. People feel cold all over their bodies, as if the cold wind is biting. People all over the world also stopped talking in the words of the white masked man. Countless people looked up at the past. Remember, be sure to see its face, and hope that this disaster will delight me. Immediately, the white masked man waved his hand again and announced the information of the first containment. SCP-096, Project Grading Euclid, codename, the Shy Man. The information began to appear in the picture, and everyone's eyes widened. Shy people are not strictly human. He looks like a humanoid creature about 2.38 meters tall. The arm is exceptionally long at 1.5 meters, and he has no muscles and mild malnutrition. Its mouth opens up 4 times the amplitude of a normal person's mouth, and he has no advanced brain function, so he is not considered intelligent. Everyone was shocked by everything in this information and expression. They didn't expect that the white masked man who destroyed the Foundation would really release a containment to come out. In such detailed information and pictures, the figure that loomed in the prison. It seems to indicate that everything is real. Everyone can imagine that this is definitely a monster that makes people feel afraid when they see it. Many large organizations feel a little tricky after seeing this information. If the white masked man wasn't lying, this thing is definitely not as simple as it appears in the data. Chen Dao also looked at the figure inside the prison, which turned his back to everyone. The system is actually coming this time. There are many unsolvable containments in the Foundation. SCP-096 is not as weird as those containments. But his characteristics are terrifying enough. He is very tame on weekdays and does not attack humans at all. But once someone sees his face directly, through a video, or in a photo, will cause it to fall into a state of severe sadness and scream and cry. It then runs at high speed to the person who sees its face, killing the person. In this process, there are no materials and methods that can stop it from moving forward. Recall information about this containment. Do you know better than anyone the horror of this containment? Even if it is on the moon, it can kill people. With the current technology of human beings, it is impossible to isolate the pursuit of SCP-096. Although it is not at the Keter level, if anyone spreads its face, the consequences are equally dire to accept. The data shows the end. The picture slowly descends into darkness. Followed by, the screen suddenly switches to a remote warehouse. Black Widow Natasha is slowly approaching here with a group of agents. They had previously learned that a group of terrorists was hiding some extremely dangerous weapon. The purpose of this visit is to dispose of these weapons. But when they came here, they didn't find anything. After observing for a while, Natasha confirmed that the warehouse was abandoned. Immediately broke down the door. But after coming in, but only saw the back of one, a white strange creature. Chapter 5. When everyone saw all this, they were stunned all of a sudden. What is this? An agent beside Natasha had a puzzled look on his face. This thing looks very weird at first glance. Although it looks like a human being from the back, there is a person who looks strange. The words of the agents also made others begin to speculate. No one knows why such a strange person appears in an abandoned warehouse. Natasha, they've been on a mission before. I don't know what's going on outside. But as an elite agent, Natasha's sixth sense is far sharper than normal. She instinctively sensed that this strange person made him feel extremely dangerous. In the face of this scene, everyone did not dare to approach. After all, this is where terrorists hide dangerous weapons. Who knows if it will be those terrorists who detected their arrival in advance? A trap is deliberately set here. The agents who can join Natasha's team are all battle-hardened existences. I don't know how many times I have swam on the edge of life and death. All they need to survive is care. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what to do. At the moment, the warehouse was empty. The few remaining boxes, which you can see at a glance, are absolutely impossible to hide the so-called dangerous weapons. A group of them stopped where they were. After thinking about it for a long time, I didn't know what was going on here. Natasha as the captain calmed his inner unease. No matter what, the task still has to continue. So, armed with a submachine gun, she took the lead and walked forward. It's just that the closer she gets to that weird person, the more I felt the danger that made people jump. The whole person was terrified. There seems to be a feeling. In the next second, an extremely terrifying horror will befall you. The agents behind him followed Natasha's footsteps. The safety leash of the firearm has been pulled away. Everyone is on the look. At this time, they were less than 10 meters away from the strange figure. Everyone was able to see the figure of this strange figure clearly. Sure enough, there was nothing wrong with what they just felt. Whether in terms of appearance or feeling, this thing cannot be counted as a person at all. Unconsciously, fine sweat had appeared on Natasha's forehead. Everyone's muzzle was pointed at the strange figure in front of them. The strange figure seemed to be unaware of the arrival of someone behind him. Crouching in the corner, covering his face and facing away from everyone. Combined with his strange appearance and white back, it looks extremely strange. Everyone seems to have stepped into a horror movie. The atmosphere did not dare to come out. Captain, is this something left behind by terrorists? Some agents couldn't help it and asked. Natasha shook her head. The current situation is so weird that she can't give orders. Moreover, when they slowly approached this strange figure, they all found that this strange figure seemed to be really alive. It's even more frightening. If this is a laboratory, maybe it's the norm of some crazy experiment. But this is just an abandoned warehouse. That group of terrorists seemed to Natasha to have no such ability at all. SHIELD agents have experienced many supernatural things. Naturally, this is well understood. However, Natasha felt more and more at this moment that what appeared this time was far more than everything she had touched before. The palm holding the firearm has long been soaked. Natasha's expression was unusually nervous. Time passes minute by minute. A tall strong man behind her strode out. It's just a group of terrorists hiding in Tibet, what means can there be? The atmosphere was too depressing, and the agent could not withstand this atmosphere and planned to fight quickly. Soon, he came to the side of the strange figure. S.H.I.E.L.D. Hands up! The strong man agent shouted loudly, someone reported that there are terrorists hiding dangerous weapons here. The sound of watching echoes throughout the warehouse. The atmosphere became more and more weird. The strong man's words did not affect the strange humanoid creature at all. The humanoid was still crouching on the ground holding its head. Unmoved. Seeing this scene, the strong man became a little angry. Approaching this humanoid creature, he knew very well that this thing was definitely alive. But it ignored itself. The enraged strong man raised his gun and fired several shots upwards. Now raise your hand immediately, otherwise I have reason to think that you are hiding dangerous weapons, and shot on the spot. The strong man's tone was murderous. If it were an ordinary terrorist, he would have been scared and trembling at this time, and obediently cooperated. The humanoid creature was still crouching in the corner, shaking its shoulders from time to time. It seemed that he wanted to bury his face deep into the ground. Seeing this, another agent couldn't help it. He stepped forward to look at the humanoid creature. The humanoid leans against the wall. Cover your face completely with your hands. Not at all cooperating with the words of the two agents. The strong man couldn't bear it anymore, put his gun down, and stepped forward. He was about to break the two hands of the humanoid monster apart. But at this moment, Natasha's communicator rang. In the outside world, everyone saw this scene. I was a little scared all of a sudden. Everyone recognized that they had seen the information of this humanoid monster from the picture. The killing rule of this monster is to see its face. The strong agent in the picture now is ready to trigger his killing law. All of a sudden, the whole world went quiet. Nervousness spread. Nick Fury, sitting in the office, it was also eager. Picked up the communicator beside him and immediately contacted Natasha. Change the goal of this operation. If there is any problem, what you have to do now is to bring back the humanoid monster in front of you. Be careful, don't look at its face. In the warehouse, Natasha was stunned by Nick Fury's sudden connection. There was simply no time to convey Nick Fury's order. And the strong man. It was also at this time that SCP-096's hands were pulled away. I saw that hideous and terrifying face. This moment, SCP-096 instantly fell into a state of extreme sadness. And it also made a sharp cry, and even faintly heard it crying. The strong agent was frightened by the strange and hideous face of SCP-096. Damn it! What the hell is this? Before he could react, the next moment, SCP-096 rushed in front of him in the blink of an eye. Chapter 6. SCP-096 is lightning fast. The strong agent only felt that the monster was about to come to him. He could only see this monster, crawling past in an extremely strange posture. But it was so fast that he couldn't avoid it. A hideous monster that strong agents have never seen before. He subconsciously wanted to escape. But now, it's too late. The monster's face is about to stick to himself. The strong man agent could only raise the submachine gun and desperately press the trigger. Piercing gunshots rang out throughout the warehouse. The fiery submachine gun ran out of magazines at once. Snap! The shell case fell to the ground. The people around them were wide-eyed when they saw this scene. And the strong man agent who was facing the monster was shocked to discover. The bullet hit the monster in the face, but it had no effect at all. The submachine gun in his hand is a special model made by SHIELD. They are all small armor-piercing bullets. But despite this, the terrifying monster on the opposite side was not harmed at all. Seeing this scene, the strong agent trembled. Oh God! What a monster is this? After that, he turned around and wanted to leave here. But SCP-096, one hand covering his face, the other hand has touched the strong man's agent. The strong agent felt like he was being targeted by a beast. He couldn't help but yell at the agent who had just acted with him. Jack! Come and help me! But by this time it was too late. SCP-096 tore apart the agent's body with just one hand. The whole person is divided into two. And SCP-096, after killing the strong man's agent, is still venting madly with his hand on his body. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. The strong man agent died too much to die. Such a bloody and terrifying scene. Everyone was completely stunned in place. The head went blank. Especially the agent named Jack, who was still acting with the strong man just now. Now he is so frightened that he can't even hold the gun in his hand. Where had he ever seen such a cruel picture? However, when I saw the face of that monster, I ended up like this. If you just did it to that monster yourself. I am afraid that the pool of flesh and blood on the ground now is himself. It is impossible to imagine that such a terrifying monster will appear in an abandoned warehouse. This won't be the dangerous weapon that the terrorists are hiding. The more Jack thought about it, the more frightened he felt. He slowly retreated. Did he want to stay away from all this, for fear that this monster would find him? Now, even the well-informed Natasha, after so many supernatural events, I was still frightened by the scene in front of me, and I was sweating. In so many years of experience as a secret agent, I have never seen such a strange thing. What kind of monster is this? This monster is terrible. Armor-piercing bullets at close range cannot damage it. Add to that its terrifying, desperate speed. Where can these ordinary people in the flesh be able to deal with this? But no matter how Natasha said, she is also an agent who has experienced countless crises. Instant reaction. She picked up the communicator and said to Nick Fury. I think you have seen the situation here, it's already late. The agent who saw its face has been attacked, can you tell me what this thing is? Nick Fury naturally saw this bloody picture. Of course, he did not see the face of SCP-096. Only the picture of the strong man agent being tortured and killed can be seen. If he had doubts about the white masked man before, he had some doubts. Now I am completely convinced. The containment is truly terrifying. He knew better than anyone how powerful the guns in the hands of the agents were. With the hardness of the monster's body in the picture, I am afraid that even if a fully armed force is pulled, it will be difficult to solve it. Nick Fury's face turned pale. However, after Natasha's voice came from the communicator, it made Nick Fury calm down a little. The most urgent task now is to solve this monster as soon as possible. The strength of the monster has exceeded his imagination. And the law of killing is extremely easy to trigger. If it is spread by people with intentions, it will definitely set off a huge disaster. Nick Fury took a deep breath. I don't know what the hell he is. But don't act rashly now. Everyone back off, don't see its face. At this moment, all the agents in the warehouse heard Nick Fury's words. Everyone understood that this monster just didn't see its face. Then it will not be attacked by it. After this situation in Texas, everyone dispersed. All stand behind SCP-096. I was afraid that if I was not careful, I would see the face of this monster. Meanwhile, Nick Fury's voice rang out again. Well done, your task now is to try to stop it. Natasha immediately responded, understood. Then, she motioned for everyone to back away and took out a high-explosive grenade from her waist. The high-pitched grenade was thrown by Natasha. The huge explosion was deafening. Everyone covered their ears. Wait for the smoke to clear. The flesh and blood on the ground have long been blown up to the point where they went, leaving only the intact SCP-096 standing in place. SCP-096 slowly turned around. Everyone was frightened into a cold sweat and hurriedly ran to both sides. While running, he also covered his eyes. The shock that this monster brought them was too much. Neither armor-piercing bullets nor high-explosive grenades can harm this monster. That is, the means of violence that they now have are simply not capable of dealing with SCP-096. And at this very time, another agent accidentally saw SCP-096 who had just turned around. The horrific picture is playing out again. SCP-096 screamed. In just a few breaths, the agent who saw him would be completely torn to pieces. Blood flowed all over the ground. The strong smell of blood made all the agents feel their hands and feet soft. This monster is really terrifying. If you don't pay attention, you will be completely decapitated. Most importantly, they simply could not resist this monster. For a while, many people felt despair in their hearts. Natasha found a corner and stood there. She stared closely at SCP-096, who was still venting wildly. This monster is too terrifying, you must not let him leave here, otherwise it will definitely bring great disaster. We have to stop it. Chapter 7. Although Natasha's eyes showed determination, but the slightly trembling body still showed the tension in her heart now. Face this powerful monster. No one can keep their mind. A strong body that can withstand thermal weapons is enough to make everyone feel despair. However, as agents, it is their duty to carry out the task. If this monster left, it would cause more trouble than they imagined. No one can afford that kind of consequence. Now, the other agents were afraid of the horror of SCP-096, but they were slowly approaching it. SCP-096 is still venting wildly. The corpse on the ground had long been turned into a puddle of meat mud. Agents who were accustomed to life and death couldn't help but cover their mouths when they approached. The scene was so brutal. If it were not for the strong combat literacy supporting them, I am afraid that they would have spit out at this time. A thought came to everyone's mind. Will they really be able to catch this monster? Inside SHIELD. All the staff and agents took action at this time. Nick Fury had already prepared for the worst. Once Natasha and their containment fail, they will directly implement the final plan of destruction. No matter what, this monster must not be allowed to leave that. This time, Nick Fury had already brought a team of researchers from his bureau to the operations command room. Inside the projection is the current state of the warehouse. All the researchers couldn't help but interfere when they saw that bloody means. Although I have seen it once before. But now it is still impossible to get rid of the shadow caused by this monster. They couldn't figure out how such a terrible thing as containment could appear in this world. The origin of the Foundation and the man in the white mask is still unknown to us. But this so-called containment has appeared, and we have to solve this problem. Nick Fury's expression was very serious. I have seen the means of the white masked man, plus the horror of seeing SCP-096 in the picture before. Everyone knows that this crisis is not comparable to what it used to be. After a moment of silence, there are researchers who speak. Maybe we can use the energy weapons in the space carrier. After all, it is better to solve it directly by imprisoning such a monster. Nick Fury nodded. That's what he thinks too. Looking at the picture, Nick Fury can only expect Natasha and them to temporarily stop SCP-096. At this time, Big Tasha looked at the agents around her, already choosing her position. Immediately instructed. You must never see its face, and you must ensure your own safety when necessary. Everyone nodded after listening. As elite agents, they know exactly what they should do in this situation. Natasha immediately took a deep breath and calmed down. The brain is racing. Although she didn't know what the monster that appeared was. But at this time, there is still confidence to solve it. After all, he is a super agent who came out of the Red House project. The dangers he experienced during the Cold War were unimaginable. Especially now that Natasha already knows the killing laws of this monster. SCP-096 seems to have finished venting. It stood up slowly. An agent who was about to get closer accidentally saw a small part of the measurement. Before the agents could react, SCP-096 began screaming. The others didn't know what was going on, but they all understood that someone might have triggered the killing law of this monster again. I saw SCP-096, suddenly turned around, covered his sides, and rushed towards the agent. Everyone hurriedly moved their faces away. Natasha also hurriedly shouted loudly. "Stop it quickly!" She knew very well that if she didn't act, it was estimated that another agent would die in the hands of this monster. After hearing Natasha's words, the agents immediately moved away from the monster. Gunshots rang out immediately. All guns were pouring bullets at SCP-096. The agent who was targeted was even more ruthless. In one breath, he pulled all the high-explosive grenades on his body, and then threw them out. The grenade exploded immediately. The terrifying shockwave caused the agent to fly directly upside down and hit the wall on the side. The agent struggled to get up. But he saw the hideous face of the monster appear in front of him. Suddenly, a hooked claw grabbed SCP-096's shoulder. In an emergency, the hooked claws launched by others, everyone grabbed the rope together and forcibly pulled it. The agent's face showed hope. But he didn't know the group of people pulling the ropes. At the moment, it is under tremendous pressure. The monster power of this master is too great. So many strong men, even brown bears can hold it. I can all feel it now that it seems that they are pulling not a humanoid monster, but an ancient mammoth. The power increases again. These agents can no longer hold the rope. SCP-096, which broke free, was on the verge of ascending to the agent's body. Natasha thought that although this monster was extremely powerful, extremely fast, and physically indestructible, but in the end, it is in human form. No matter how hard the body is, at least the eyes are soft. So she took out the anesthesia gun without hesitation. Natasha's marksmanship is precise. The anesthesia needle shot SCP-096's left eye impartially. However, SCP-096 seems to be a nobody. Without any stagnation, the target agent was directly torn to shreds. All the agents, including Natasha, were blown away by all this. Everyone turned pale. You must know that the anesthetic needle that Natasha shot at the end was specially made. The dosage is amazingly large. Even a sperm whale can be directly anesthetized. No means can stop SCP-096 from killing people. How does this accomplish the task? Faced with SCP-096, who was venting his anger, the remaining agents were also exposed. They all rushed forward and hugged it, wanting to drag it out. However, it is inevitable that a small part of SCP-096 will be seen in this process. The scariest part of SCP-096 is that even the face of SCP-096 in the photo only occupies 4 pixels. The human eye simply cannot detect it. However, it will still trigger the killing law of SCP-096. Not to mention this close contact in front of you. Now, one agent after another, in front of Natasha's eyes, was killed by SCP-096. SCP-096, which is in a state of extreme sadness, cannot be stopped by any means. But only for a moment. Except that Natasha luckily didn't see its face. All other agents are in the process of blocking SCP-096, triggering the killing pattern. All were killed. In the end, only Natasha was left in the room, and SCP-096, who had completely cleaned up all of it, saw its face. Natasha hurriedly turned away. Look at the layer of flesh and blood on your feet. Only shock remained in my heart. What kind of monster is this? Chapter 8. SCP-096's cry still wanted to be withdrawn in Natasha's ears. At this moment, she did not dare to turn around at all. I was afraid that I would see the terrifying face of SCP-096 when I looked back. This is an entire team of elite agents of SHIELD. In the past, there have never been such heavy casualties. But now, it's just dealing with a monster and it ends up like this. The pungent smell of blood hit Natasha's psychological defenses. The heart, which had already been tenacious, was now full of fear. This monster is too weird. It's so desperate. The atmosphere is extremely dignified. I don't know how long it took. Natasha felt that there was no sound behind her, and then slowly opened her eyes. Now in the entire warehouse, only he is left alive. Even if you are very frightened, you must turn around and check the situation. After all, the exit is not far from that monster. Natasha carefully moved her body, and Yu Guang saw SCP-096, crouching on the ground. Everything is back to the way it started. SCP held his head, very afraid that others would see his face. As if nothing had happened here. But the flesh and blood on the ground proved that the cruel scene just now was real. Everyone only felt that their legs were soft. Seeing this strange monster squatting on the ground, I couldn't help but take several steps back. Then, she ran into a door behind her, which had long been corroded. Boom! The gate collapsed. The huge sound made Natasha couldn't help but look back. In an instant, she saw a picture that she would never forget. Shredded clothes all over the floor. There was scattered human tissue as well as minced meat everywhere. The blood has long been drained. The walls were covered with dark black blood. This room is not much smaller than the place where Natasha is now. Such a terrifying scene. Natasha's face changed again and again. It seems that they can no longer bear such a scene. It took a long time for Natasha to come to her senses. No wonder when they approached the warehouse before, there was no movement. Where is this group of terrorists capable of anticipating the arrival of SHIELD in advance? It seems that they came in and did not see a single terrorist. It must have been killed by this weird monster. Fully armed terrorists, and only such monsters, can be easily solved in such a short time. This bloody picture is also the best proof of this. Natasha couldn't help but turn her head. Look at this shy and weird back. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. The number of terrorists is definitely quite a few. How many people did this humanoid demon kill? Everything that happened in the warehouse was already beyond Natasha's imagination. Through the picture, the whole world was silent. Everyone opened their mouths wide and looked at each other. A shocked expression appeared on the face of each individual. Then countless people were terrified. This weird and terrifying monster, even if it is only across the screen, can feel the despair. Everyone withdrew their gaze and felt only fear. Is this containment? There is no one who is not shocked at the moment. The leader of the Hydra, who had just convened a meeting of the World Security Council, Alexander Pierce. Adam's apple peristalsis. You can see that he is very nervous now. Even others can understand his current fears. The sudden appearance of such a terrifying monster on the earth really makes people shudder. At this moment, he deeply realized the horror of containment. Think of foundations that can solve containments. There is also the white masked man who is so mysterious and terrifying that he can destroy the foundation. Pierce couldn't help but snort. It took a while before he spoke. What do you guys think? Hear his words. The members of the World Security Committee fell silent. No one dares to respond at this time. After all, the ability shown by the white masked man is too exaggerated. They are now unable to solve even the containment in the picture. Talk about what to discuss this white masked man. When Pierce saw this scene, he felt a headache more and more. Is there really no way? A whole team of elite agents were powerless to fight back in the hands of containment. What are they going to take against the white masked man? Not to mention, now they have not even found traces of the white masked man. The foundation he spoke of did not exist in any historical record. Now everyone looked up and looked at the bloody scene in the picture. Suddenly, an idea emerged. The white masked man projected towards the whole world seemed even more difficult than they thought. How can there be such a person on the earth? It is completely unclear about the origin. Especially such a character also has extremely terrifying means. The invisible pressure pressed on everyone's hearts, making them breathless. The other side. SHIELD is also busy. Pile after pile of analysis was sent to Nick Fury's hands. However, these analyses, for the current situation, are not at all useful. We did a physics simulation. When this monster triggers the killing law, its body is harder than a diamond. With the exception of nuclear bombs, none of our weapons today can completely destroy it. The researcher's explanation made Nick Fury's face darken. Now the group of agents in the warehouse, only Natasha remains. Don't think about it, Natasha alone will definitely not be able to catch this monster. Is it only possible to start the final solution? However, if the final plan is made, it will not be able to completely solve this monster and let the monster escape from here. The disaster it caused was not something that he, a SHIELD director, could afford. He looked at the projections in the sky. Suddenly, it seemed like something had come to mind. His face instantly became extremely ugly. If the white masked man, at this moment, the face of that monster is played in the picture. I don't know how many people will see this scene. You must know the white masked man, but he has published all the information about this monster. At that time, I am afraid that it will really be the day of the demise of mankind. An anxious Nick Fury stood up. This white masked man who projects the whole world is afraid that it will become a real big trouble in the future. Just when the whole world was in shaking, the projection in the sky suddenly flickered. The screen immediately switched and returned to the room where the white masked man was. Now, the voice sounded. How? The hors d'oeuvres I gave you are still satisfied. Chapter 9. The white masked man spoke with a smile in his eyes. But listen to him. No one in the whole world was happy. Although no one could see the white masked man, the smiling face under the mask. But everyone can feel that the face is definitely full of banter towards them. Let's not talk about the means shown by the white masked man. Let's talk about the terrifying containment that appeared in the previous picture. It is enough to plunge the entire planet into panic. And most importantly, this containment is just a monster held by the Foundation. It's just that now, this monster has been released by the white masked man himself. Just thinking about it makes people feel numb in the scalp. Countless people became more and more shocked. It seems that in the next second, more terrifying containments will descend on them. The white masked man seemed to feel the panic of the whole incident. There was a laughter that made people tremble in the picture. Hee, the game has just begun. The voice of the white masked man just fell. The wall behind suddenly became pitch black, and then one grid after another was divided. In every grid, there seems to be something. Or in human form. Or weird twisted figures. Nothing is visible inside some of the cells. But the gaze swept over, but people suddenly had an invisible fear. The white masked man did not speak at the moment. But everyone realized. Inside these compartments behind him are most likely the containment items that the Foundation contains. In an instant, the whole world became weird. Everyone fell silent. At this time, the white masked man knocked on the tabletop. The things behind him disappeared without a trace in an instant, leaving only the Foundation logo and resurfacing on the wall. Guys, we'll see you next time. It's going to be even more fun next. Before everyone had time to think, the projection in the sky disappeared in an instant. All the invaded electronics were also restored to normal. The whole world returned to calm. It seems that all the previous scenes are just everyone's fantasies. However, everyone looked at the picture recorded in their camera. We all know that everything is reality. As the projection disappears, SHIELD is also back to normal. All equipment can be used as usual. Seeing this, Nick Fury was finally relieved. At least the white masked man didn't control everything all the time. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be able to use satellites to investigate the situation elsewhere. But he didn't have it easy for long. At the thought of it, there is another monster that has not been solved. He hurriedly inquired, the researcher standing beside him. Can you trace the source of the intrusion device? Now that it has been restored, maybe you can follow the vine and find the place where the white masked man is hiding. However, he still overestimated the capabilities of SHIELD too much. Able to invade all the world's electronic devices silently. How is this ability possible? They can trace it back. The researchers sent the report to someone on the other side, who specializes in security technology. The answer in the end is: no traces of intrusion were found. Hearing this report, Nick Fury's eyes widened. His eyes are not blind yet. Is this called not being hacked? When he calmed down, Nick Fury took a deep breath. He understood what that meant. The technical generation gap between SHIELD and the white masked man is too great. This is indeed a technical crush. That's why they couldn't find any traces of invasion at all. Nick Fury had a growing headache. This series of things can only show that the guy who claims to be from the Foundation. It's too dangerous. In terms of information technology alone, the SHIELD will definitely not be opponents of the other side. Once the real confrontation occurs, it must be them who suffer. After checking the situation inside SHIELD again, finding nothing left, a welfare began to think about the words of the white masked man. Although it is said that containment has appeared on Earth. But how much of that guy's words are true and how false they are, you still need to verify it yourself. Come to think of it. He picked up the communicator. Natasha, you look at that monster first, if there is any problem, contact urgently. When he was done, he set off. To meet this creature called SCP-096. After all, if everything is as the guy said, then something big is going to happen. You think of the white masked man, the lattice that appears behind him. It is really impossible to imagine the impact if so many containments suddenly appeared on Earth. That's right. Nick Fury gave the order to his subordinates on the side, report to Congress and let people prepare more prisoners. He wanted these prisoners to do some experiments. Soon, Nick Fury came in a gunship and went outside the warehouse. The armored vehicles escorting the prisoners were also ready. The prisoners were all terrorists captured by SHIELD. Under normal circumstances, these terrorists are to be shot. Nick Fury came to the group of prisoners. I'm giving you a chance now to walk inside this warehouse and look at the face of that monster. If you survive later, I will release you on behalf of S.H.I.E.L.D. Although the monster is terrifying, the promise of SHIELD really makes everyone a little excited. As long as there is a glimmer of hope to live, no one wants to let go. Although that monster is terrifying, it may have a chance to survive. Now, Nick Fury looked at the prisoners, and they were all already moving. Nodding motioned for the agent beside him to put the prisoners in the warehouse. Natasha walked out, still trembling and looking at the group of prisoners, with a hint of a look on her face. The prisoners did not yet know what horror they were going to face next. One by one, the prisoners walked in. Nick Fury saw the entire warehouse through the camera on them. But for a moment, Nick Fury's face turned dark. Because all the prisoners who saw that monster were all killed by the monster in the blink of an eye. Everything is the same as the masked man said. The most terrifying thing is, there was an agent next to him who accidentally saw the face that flashed in the video. The monster immediately rushed out. Kill the agent. Nick Fury, who saw this scene, was scared into a cold sweat, and hurriedly turned his head, not daring to look over. He didn't expect it to be even more terrifying than the man said. However, if you see the video, you will also be detected by SCP-096. If the video of this monster goes viral, it is difficult to imagine what the consequences will be. And most importantly, the number of this thing is just SCP-096. I can't imagine how many such horrific containments there are in that foundation. Chapter 10. After the SCP-096 vented, it returned to the warehouse. Nick Fury's body slowly relaxed. When that monster first appeared, the pressure on him was too great. He could sense that danger had descended on him. The fear in his heart spread quickly, making it impossible for him to leave here. This is the horror of containment. After experiencing it firsthand, he understood. Why did the previous team of elite agents fail to take in? Under the command of Nick Fury, the agents enter the warehouse. After cleaning up the warehouse, they all hurriedly withdrew. And this time, a new batch of prisoners was brought in. The belated researchers also carried a series of equipment and were ready. Looking at the scene in front of him, Nick Fury did not hesitate. The second experiment continued again. Only this time he didn't let the group of prisoners in. Instead, let them watch SCP-096 in the video. Sure enough, it was the same as I thought before. Although the monster stayed in the warehouse, he still noticed that someone outside saw his face. A large hole in the shape of a person appeared in the wall of the warehouse. The group of prisoners who saw SCP-096's face rushed up. But the final outcome is still that there is still no escape from the fate of death. The bloody and cruel picture made the researchers a little unbearable. After all, this scene happened around him, which was countless times more shocking than what he saw in the video. During this period, Nick Fury also tried to use fire suppression. Both guns on gunships, or armor-piercing shells for tanks. None of them could make this monster stop a little. As long as this monster falls into a state of extreme sadness, nothing can interfere with him. Just like the information given by the White Masked Man, there is nothing false about it. Nick Fury's face became more and more gloomy. The containment was 100 times harder to deal with than he had imagined. As soon as you see his face, then death will descend on this person's head. And I also see that this rule of the face is also very relaxed. Whether it's seeing directly or through video, will attract the attention of SCP-096. Even if researchers blindfold the monster through robots, they cannot avoid triggering the killing law. Even in the second half of the experiment, some prisoners only slightly saw the side face of SCP-096 in a photo. It was also killed by SCP-096. This situation frightened Nick Fury. This pattern of killing is also too terrifying. If someone casually prints out this kind of photo and throws it on the ground, I don't know how many casualties it will cause. The researchers conducted several more experiments. Finally, a conclusion was drawn. Wherever this face of SCP-096 appears, even if it's just a photo, a few pixels on it, the human eye can't recognize it. It will also attract the attention of SCP-096. Now, all the researchers and agents who stayed here fell silent. This result is really shocking. Is this the scary thing about containments? A deep fear was felt by all. Nick Fury sat in the helicopter, looked at the experimental report brought by his subordinates, and took a deep breath. All this was too unexpected. Now he couldn't think of any way to deal with such a monster. Just as Nick Fury was lost in thought, a phone call came in. Nick Fury picked it up and found that it was his boss, Alexander Pierce of the Security Council. As soon as the phone was connected, Pierce asked about Nick Fury's experiment. I'll transmit the contents of the experiment report now. Soon the experimental report was received over there. On the other end of the phone, there was an instant silence. It took a while for Pierce's voice to sound. It means that even through photos and videos, you will be killed if you see what SCP-096 looks like. Nick Fury responded immediately. Yes. And with our current capabilities, there is simply no way to stop SCP-096 from killing people. Pierce heard these breaths become a little rapid. Is there a way to completely destroy it? Our side has said that there are countless methods. With the current technology of mankind, it is impossible to destroy this monster. Nick Fury isn't exaggerating. This monster is so weird. According to calculations, even a nuclear bomb may not be able to destroy this monster. After getting an exact reply, it was cheap, but immediately hung up. The members of the safety committee sitting next to him also heard Nick Fury's words. Everyone only felt cold hands and feet. This kind of monster is really terrifying. And it can't be solved, which is equivalent to a sword of Damocles hanging over everyone's heads. As long as any of them saw SCP-096's face. In the end, death will only be faced. Pierce's face was extremely ugly. What the damn thing is this? Be sure to find out that guy in the white mask as soon as possible. Normal props can't just go on like this. The other end. Just when SHIELD was toiling to solve SCP-096, Chen Dao set his gaze on the system. So much containment value. After all, the world still feared him. The number of containment values today is enough for him to extract one of SCP-096's abilities. Finally, I can have my own power. Chen Dao couldn't wait to start extracting. Ding! Extraction successful. Congratulations to the host for the ability to extract SCP-096. SCP-096 ability: the ability to lock onto each other as long as the face is seen. No matter where the target is, you can move towards it. There is no material or method to stop the capable person from moving towards these goals. And in this state, the capable cannot be killed. This is a regular capability belonging to SCP-096, and it is also its most bizarre and practical ability. Lockdown skill for invincibility. Definitely a bug-level existence. The only bad thing is that this skill doesn't have any aggressiveness. After Chen Dao was satisfied with the ability to collect, he immediately decided. It seems that he needs more containment value, more fear. Chapter 11. SCP-096 is very capable. Even if he doesn't have any means of attack now. But the invincibility of that lockdown period alone was enough for him to gain a foothold in this world. The ability of this system of rules is simply not reasonable. On the entire Earth, there is simply nothing that can stop Chen Dao, who is in a locked state. Even if it is still the Supreme Mage Guyi who has the time gem. Trap Chen Dao in a time loop. As long as Chen Dao is randomly locked, anyone on the earth who has seen him. No amount of dimensions could stop his feet at all. Thinking of this, Chen Dao's heart settled down a lot. Now no one knows his true identity at all. With the powerful ability of the system, SHIELD, including Hydra, cannot track him down no matter how strong it is. Unless SHIELD is willing to cleanse the whole world and ensure that no one has ever seen Chen Dao's people. Otherwise, everything is useless. Of course, this possibility is close to zero. Chen Dao was not worried. Now, looking at the people rushing outside the restaurant, he retracted his smile. Walked out calmly. This is Hell's Kitchen. In the past, even during the day, he was worried, but now he has no fear. Glancing at the system. There is still a whole week before the arrival of the containment. Patience is also required. However, with his current ability, he can collect fears on a small scale. Put on a mask. He is the white masked man who made the whole world shake, and SHIELD and Hydra worked hard for it. But restore the identity of ordinary people. He is also just a very ordinary high school student now. In the eyes of that group of big people, it is not at all conspicuous. No one can imagine it. A high school student who was bullied in school turned out to be the white masked man who caused boundless panic in the world. Chen Dao thought as he left the street. It's past noon. Chen Dao had already taken a full week off. Since I want to get more fear. Then you have to meet Peter Parker, who has not yet become. As well as the group of classmates who bullied the original body. Although he only obtained the locking ability of SCP-096. But it has also been systematically transformed. His current strength has long exceeded the limits of human beings. When the captain of the United States came to him, he was definitely not his opponent. Dealing with that group of high school students is simply a piece of cake for the current Chen Dao. And most importantly, in the eyes of those people, he was still a weak and deceitful Asian. You can also take this opportunity to give them a little shock. The fear of an entire high school contribution, that's also very considerable. The shock of witnessing it is far more impressive than what you see in the video. Packed up my things. Chen Dao pushed open the door and walked in the direction of the school. The danger level of Hell's Kitchen made the entire New York people afraid to avoid it. When Chen Dao left Hell's Kitchen, he finally saw his high school classmates on the way. When those students saw Chen Dao, their faces showed surprise. At that time, most of the people in high school knew Peter Parker and Chen Dao. The two of them are in the school and are the representatives of the gas bag. Girls dare to go up and bully. Chen Dao ignored these students striding past them and quickly disappeared in front of these students. Looking at Chen Dao's disappearing back, everyone looked at each other. Because they didn't expect Chen Dao, they actually dared to come to school. Is this Asian kid crazy? I thought he would drop out of school. Who said it wasn't? If I were him now, I would have been hiding at home and crying with a headache. I don't know what confidence he has to dare to go to school. It seems that there is a good show again. I originally thought that he was beaten by Fleischer and did not dare to come to school, and I really wanted to see him kneeling and begging for mercy again. These people all had smiles on their faces. It seems that I have seen an interesting picture. Everyone's pace has sped up a lot. At the school gate, the group of people who had just spoken out to discuss enlightenment saw Chen Dao standing at the door. I thought Chen Dao was afraid. One of the boys couldn't help but laugh. I thought I was so daring, but I didn't expect it to still be a soft egg. Go home and find your mother to breastfeed. Saying that, the surrounding students burst into laughter. The unbridled laughter seemed to attract Chen Dao's attention. He slowly turned his head and stared at the boy who had just spoken. The boy who was stared at by the preacher was inexplicable and had a sense of horror. Can't help but take a step back. After the reaction, his face suddenly turned red. He didn't expect that he would be frightened by the eyes of an Asian kid who often bullied him. For him, it was a great shame. Before the boy wanted to speak, Chen Dao said coldly. What were you talking about? I didn't hear clearly. Then he found the boy's side and pressed him against the wall behind him. The boy saw Chen Dao's movements so bold. Roared. Do you think I dare not beat you? The voice just fell. The boy only felt a huge force attacking him. Boom. Before he could react, he was directly hit against the wall by Chen Dao's head. He wanted to resist. But compared to Chen Dao's strength, it was too weak. The sound of heads hitting the wall is endless. The boy's head was covered in blood. At the moment, he couldn't stand it anymore. Open your mouth and beg for mercy. Sorry, my fault, please let me go. Chen Dao was really terrifying, and he had a feeling that if he didn't ask for mercy, it is very likely that Chen Dao will be killed here on the spot. Chen Dao stopped. This time to teach you a lesson, don't let me see you again, or I will kill you. Immediately let go of the boy. Turned around and left here. The whole body tensed up, seeing Chen Dao disappear in front of his eyes, swallowed his saliva, and the whole person instantly relaxed. All of a sudden, he collapsed on the ground. The classmates beside him, looking at the boy's miserable appearance, did not dare to step forward. The strength that Chen Dao had just displayed made them all feel incomparably fearful. Everyone is quiet. Fortunately they didn't become this bird just now, otherwise the person who collapsed on the ground now is his own person. They all had a thought in their minds. Is this still the cowardly Chen Dao from before? If it weren't for that identical face, I'm afraid everyone would think that someone was pretending to be Chen Dao. It's exactly like changing someone. Chapter 12. The scene just now was amazing. Many people were at the school gate and saw the brutal scene before. Chen Dao's bloody means really frightened these high school students. This group of high school students loves to bully people on weekdays. But at most, it is also a prank and a beating. None of them dared to do such an act as Chen Dao. Looking at the boy who collapsed on the ground with his face covered in blood, everyone couldn't help but fight a cold war. But many people have bullied Chen Dao before. If Chen Dao did something to them, I am afraid that his end would not be much better than that boy. Thinking of Chen Dao's cold and ruthless eyes just now, everyone felt the fear. It seems that he has swam on the edge of life and death. Chen Dao's back gradually disappeared in front of everyone's eyes and entered the teaching building. Anyone who saw that scene just now was afraid of Chen Dao for the first time in their hearts. Classrooms and corridors in the United States are spacious. There are many corners in each floor. That group of school bullies often bully people in the corners of these floors. In general, it does not attract the attention of school teachers at all. Chen Dao's mind flashed the memory of the original body. Before that, he was often pulled into a corner by the school bully and beaten wantonly. With only one person, he was powerless to resist the school bully. Just as Chen Dao recalled these memories, he heard a familiar voice in his ears. A face came to his mind. His physical fitness was far beyond that of humans, and he quickly figured out where the sound was coming from. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face. Meanwhile, inside a corner of the floor, as always, Peter Parker leaned against the wall, a terrified expression on his face. Standing in front of them was the school bully Fleischer, who often bullied him and Chen Ji. Since the minister did not come to school, the only person Fleischer could bully often was Peter Parker. As long as I have time, I will be dragged by the school bully to the corner to teach a lesson. It is not the first time that such a thing has happened when I first came to school. Boy, who do you think you are? Dare to lean into my face? Fleischer's expression was very vicious. And the attendants behind him are also echoing. That is, you don't look at it, how can a waste like you compete with the boss for women? Saying that, this henchman also kicked Peter Parker. Peter Parker, who had already been bullied, was flushed. I don't dare to complain at all. He knew if he resisted, even greater bullying will follow. At this moment, his body stepped back while speaking, and that look made Fleischer smile. Just a soft bastard like you, why dare you talk to Wenger? I tell you, let me see it again and break your leg. Fleischer was extremely arrogant. In his opinion, Peter Parker is nothing more than a pitiful bug who can be bullied by himself at any time. How can such a person have the ability to rob a woman with himself? Just when these people were going to take Peter Parker out again, behind them, a voice suddenly sounded. Get out of the way. You're blocking me. When Peter Parker heard this voice, his body was also stunned. Accustomed to being bullied, he fought in the face of anyone. Then he immediately got up and got out of the way. However, he suddenly felt that the voice was unusually familiar, and immediately turned to look behind him. He couldn't believe his eyes. Is it Chen Dao? How dare he come back to school? Compared to others, Chen Dao is Peter Parker's most familiar classmate. After all, like him, Chen Dao is often bullied by the school bully Fleischer. Before, because Chen Dao accidentally bumped into Fleischer, he was beaten fiercely, and he has been home for a whole week. Originally, he thought that Chen Dao would not be able to come back. But I didn't expect to see him at this time. But looking at Chen Dao's cold face, suddenly, Peter Parker inexplicably felt fear. Chen Dao was the same as himself, so cowardly that he was bullied by everyone. Only now he doesn't know what happened to this guy. As if I hadn't seen it for a week, the whole person seemed to have changed as a person. Peter Parker didn't seem to be sure that this person was Chen Dao. Fleischer saw that it was Chen Dao who appeared. A smile immediately appeared on his face. Another piece of waste is coming. I beat me home, and I actually dared to come to school. I don't know if I'm alive or dead. A hideous expression appeared on his face, as if Chen Dao had angered him. But the next second, as soon as his eyes suddenly flowered, he saw that Chen Dao's hand had fallen on his head. A loud bang. Did he smash Fleischer's head against the wall? Peter Parker saw this scene and trembled with fright. That's Fleischer. How is it possible to be a bully of a high school without a little force? But now this school bully was actually pressed against the wall by Chen Dao with one hand. This terrifying scene shocked everyone. Not only Peter Parker, but also the two attendants behind Fleischer also stood in place. I can't imagine that such a thing will appear in Chen Dao's body. At this time, Fleischer felt a huge pain in his head. I didn't react all of a sudden. The whole person began to be dazzled. After a while, when he recovered, he came back to his senses. He didn't expect that the cowardly Asian, who had been beaten by himself before and did not dare to come to school, would dare to attack him. Fear filled his heart in an instant. With a face full of anger, he picked up the trash can beside him and fought back. But all of a sudden, Chen Dao grabbed his wrist. The huge force made his face pale with pain. The bones are all crunching. Fleischer endured the pain. It should be used in the trash to sink to the fatal blow. However, Chen Dao suddenly raised a foot. The force is amazing. Fleischer had no room for resistance at all, and the whole person was kicked up by Chen Dao. It suddenly fell several meters away. He lay on the ground panting and went out, with an incredulous expression on his face. Even the two attendants behind him were equally shocked. After a week, Chen Dao actually became so terrifying. Let their hearts tremble a little. When did these people have seen such a terrifying scene? Everyone thought about how terrifying it would be if the kick just fell on them. Chen Dao looked at Fleischer, who fell to the ground. My heart is happy. No wonder you like to bully people so much, this feeling is so cool. Chen Dao looked at Fleischer and sneered. Chapter 13. Fleischer's miserable appearance made the two attendants stunned in place, and did not dare to make a move at all. They are just bullies who fear the hard. Facing Chen Dao's murderous appearance, the fear in my heart has reached the extreme. Chen Dao slowly walked over and came to the front of the two attendants. Get out of here. Hearing Chen Dao's words, the two attendants couldn't help but take a few steps back. If it had been placed before, Chen Dao would have dared to talk to them like this, and he would have already been beaten to the ground. But now they didn't dare to play prestige in front of Chen Dao. Fleischer, who fell to the ground, struggled to get up. You two idiots, he's only one person, what are you still stunned for? Only then did the two attendants react. Yes. Chen Dao alone, can he still be the opponent of the two of them? The two people's eyes froze. I want to step forward and grab Chen Dao. Seeing this scene, Peter Parker was also scared and was about to remind Chen Dao to be careful. But the next scene was unexpected. Those two didn't have to do it yet. Chen Dao's speed was amazingly fast, and in the blink of an eye, he came in front of these two people and pinched their necks. In the horrified eyes of everyone, these two people were abruptly mentioned by Chen Dao. The two attendants struggled in mid-air. Unable to breathe, their faces were swollen red. Chen Dao's hands were like iron tongs, clutching their necks so hard that no one could break free. Then Chen Dao threw it hard. Just throw these two people out. The sound of a heavy object hitting the ground sounded. The two people instantly lost their ability to move and fainted on the spot. Such a shocking scene. It scared Peter Parker into a cold sweat. Fleischer was also stunned. Chen Dao picked up the trash can. Just now you just wanted to use this to beat me well, right? At this moment, Fleischer touched the blood on his head. I looked at my two attendants who were lying in the distance, and I couldn't believe it. Although there is already fear in the heart. But at this time, the mouth is still unforgiving. You little bitch, I'm going to kill you. Chen Dao did not continue to speak. Another kick went down and directly kicked Fleischer to the ground. Then he used the trash can again and smashed on Fleischer's body. Ah! Boy, I'm going to kill you! He screamed bitterly and cursed. But the more he did this, the harder Chen Dao smashed it. The sound of the trash can colliding with the flesh made Peter Parker tremble when he heard it. Fleischer was beaten so hard that he couldn't get up at all. The insults gradually subsided. It turned into one cry after another begging for mercy. Peter Parker has never seen the school bully who is arrogant and domineering on weekdays, and at this moment actually fell at Chen Dao's feet and wailed. This is really unexpected. Peter Parker's heart was full of tension and shock. Chen Dao's transformation is too great. Is this still the weak Asian who can be bullied? Chen Dao heard Fleischer's plea for mercy, but the movements on his hands did not stop, but became more forceful. Fleischer no longer had the arrogant look he had before. He felt that Chen Dao really wanted to kill him. The pleas for mercy grew louder. At the moment, he was terrified. If Chen Dao didn't stop, it would be hard to imagine whether he would be able to survive. It seems that Chen Dao is tired. Fleischer looked at Chen Dao, who had stopped his hand, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. His life was finally saved. Just now, he felt from Chen Dao's fierce gaze that even if this was a school, Chen Dao would kill without mercy. No matter how fierce he is just a bully in a high school. Where have you seen such a scene? But I didn't have time for him to relax for a few seconds. After Chen Dao put down the trash can. Suddenly, a foot stepped on one of Fleischer's legs. The powerful kick directly made Fleischer scream. Peter Parker, who was behind Chen Dao, only heard a tooth-biting bone-shattering sound. Peter Parker knew that this leg of Fleischer was considered wasted. Definitely a crushing fracture. Even if you recover in the future, you are likely to have sequelae or even permanent disability. Peter Parker looked at the expression of fear on his face that sank to his face. Chen Dao's methods were too ferocious. This guy Fleischer provoked Chen Dao, which is definitely the biggest mistake he has done in his life. I broke one of your legs today, and if I see you in school again in the future, I will kill you immediately. Fleischer was completely terrified when he heard Chen Ji's words. Chen Dao's means today made him understand that the person in front of him definitely did what he said. At this moment, he covered his feet and did not even dare to scream. Do it all. Chen Dao turned to look at Peter Parker. Peter Pat, who was stared at by Chen Dao, couldn't help but tremble in his heart. Subconsciously took a step back. Seeing Peter Parker's appearance, Chen Dao laughed. This smile fell in Peter Parker's eyes, like a demon. It made him more and more frightened. Chen Dao walked past him. You are much smarter than those three guys on the ground. Remember to wait for my way next time and I will break your leg. After speaking, Chen Dao left immediately. Peter Parker stood stiffly in place, not daring to make the slightest move. After waiting in his line of sight and no longer Chen Dao's figure, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. The feeling that Chen Dao gave him just now was too dangerous. It was as if he was going to see God in the next second. This guy hasn't seen him for a week, it's really like a changed person. It's terrifying. The loud sound here has indeed attracted the attention of many people. Peter Parker's only friend in school, Ned, saw Peter Parker here and walked over. He saw Fleischer lying on the ground, and the two attendants next to him. A shocked expression suddenly appeared on his face. What's going on here? How is this guy Fleischer lying on the ground? Peter Parker heard Ned's voice. It took a long time to calm his emotions. Then he told Ned everything about it. After Ned listened, his face became more and more shocked. That guy really seems to have changed as a person. Just at the school gate he beat a classmate, the person who hit his face was bloody, and now he broke Fleischer's leg. As he spoke, a trace of horror appeared on his face. This method is too brutal, more violent than the New York gangs. If he hadn't known Chen Dao before, he would have suspected that an underworld member had just stormed the school and beat Fleischer up. Fleischer's miserable appearance is really terrifying. Chen Dao was several times more terrifying than he had imagined. Chapter 14. Ned, after saying this, immediately fell silent. Such a murderous person staying in the school makes everyone feel afraid. You know, the guy actually said to Peter Parker that if he got in the way, he would break his leg. This is even more arrogant than the school bully. And most importantly, Chen Dao does have such strength. As described by Peter Parker. Everything that really shows up is like a non-human. One kick kicked people out several meters away. With a pinch of both hands, you can mention 2 strong men. It's unimaginable. If he hadn't known that he had been studying in this high school before he became enlightened, he would have thought that it was a super soldier made by the American military. The two looked at each other. Fear could be seen in the other person's eyes. Chen Dao just now was too scary. I am afraid that in the future, Chen Dao will become the psychological shadow of the two people. Fleischer, who was lying on the ground after Chen Dao left, kept wailing. All this is firmly imprinted in their hearts. Standing in front of the school. In the corner of the floor, the trouble before the original body was solved. Once again, Chen Dao's name spread throughout the high school. It's just that this time's reputation is no longer the cowardice of before. Some even called him a demon in private. Chen Dao was very satisfied with this. Because at this time he looked at the system. The containment value has indeed increased visibly. Sure enough, it caused the most fear in person. Just solved a few school bullies, and gained a whole high school fear. If you come a few more times, you will be able to draw again. It seems that what I guessed before was correct. The deeper the fear caused, the more containment value he gets. At this moment, he couldn't wait to collect more fears. At that time, he will be able to extract SCP-096, more capabilities. As soon as he thought of this, Chen Dao became a little excited. In addition to the lock of invincibility, he is also salivating over SCP-096's other abilities. You must know that this time the ability to extract by yourself does not have any aggression. But when he looked at his hands, he still felt something different. As time passed, he felt his strength grow. Extract before yourself. It seems that from SCP-096, it is not just skills that are gained. His physical fitness has also gained an extremely exaggerated strengthening. Before he came to the school, he had already felt his strength, and he had long exceeded the upper limit of human beings. It has reached a point that no captain of the United States can touch. Now his physical fitness is still getting stronger. The transformation of the system continues. So I'm now getting a part, SCP-096 for physical fitness. This made Chen Dao couldn't help but look forward to it. So much can be obtained in a single extraction. It is estimated that by the next time, his physical fitness will be further improved. At that time, with his physical fitness, he will be able to compete with the entire American army. Since the next containment arrives, there is still a full week to go. Taking advantage of this time, he wants to bring fear to more people. Now he has a better, containment-worthy option. His gaze looked towards the Hell's Kitchen in the distance. It's a crime haven for all of New York. It is also a gathering place for the entire New York gang. As the darkest place underground in New York. Maybe others remember this place very well, but those rich people are reluctant to set foot in this place. But for Chen Dao, this place is like a place that contains infinite treasures. In Chen Dao's eyes, Hell's Kitchen is the best place to brush containment values. Presumably, that group of vicious criminals has developed fear, definitely more than high school students. New York gangsters, are you ready to face me? Chen Dao sneered, or are you ready to fear me? SCP-096 is still in storage. SHIELD had no way to deal with this terrifying monster. Near warehouses today. It has long been blocked by Nick Fury, leaving only the researchers, who are still here to continue the experiment. Nick Fury shook his head. Looking at the failed experiments again and again, there is no expectation in my heart. A capability that can be called a rule level. No matter how hard you try, you can't resist. To be precise, the current level of science and technology on Earth is simply unable to fight SCP-096. Disillusioned, Nick Fury returns to SHIELD. In the face of the investigation report handed over by the agent, he was even more disappointed. Because he had just returned to the bureau, he got the news that nothing had been found. With their SHIELD ability, as long as they are on the Earth, they can investigate one or two. But now, everything about the Foundation was not found at all. That's what you came up with? I don't believe in an organization that has been fighting fear on Earth for so many years, without any trace. The agent who reports the investigation looks at his superior. Not a word at all. Nick Fury gave them most of the permissions, and after investigating for so long, there really was no clue. In the information that can be found in the world, there is no mention of the existence of the Foundation. Such a large organization, no clues can be found. Not to mention about the White Masked Man. Under the premise that the other party has a technology far beyond SHIELD. Look for such a person in the midst of the Earth. It is 10,000 times more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. As things stand, with their capabilities, even if they are investigating for 10 years, nothing can come of it. Nick Fury didn't bother to listen to the agents anymore. Constantly flipping through the investigation report in hand, as well as a series of materials. Then I glanced at SCP-096 in the middle of the screen, squatting in the warehouse with its head in his hand. The expression on his face became more and more difficult to see. It's just a containment in the hands of that Foundation. It can make them all over SHIELD anxious. The degree of exaggeration has far exceeded his imagination. He thought of the White Masked Man who had said there was the next game. The whole person's heart was beating wildly. He couldn't even imagine what he would do next time, dealing with the game of the White Mask people. If such a monster appears again. At this moment, he was already soaked in cold sweat on his back. After a long time, Nick Fury sighed. Far beyond their science and technology. An unsolvable horror monster. All this is refreshing Nick Fury's three views. Unconsciously, Nick Fury became more and more jealous of this Foundation. Chapter 15. Nick Fury felt. There should be no foundations on Earth, and no shelters should exist in such organizations. All this was brought by the White Masked Man. The entire SHIELD, including Nick Fury, was extremely nervous against the mysterious figures. Nowadays, countless agents are like frightened birds. As soon as I saw someone imitating the costume of the White Masked Man, I couldn't help but arrest them. Although to say that all this is a farce. But it left the agents feeling exhausted. Nick Fury was sitting in his chair at the moment. Looking at the information coming from the fax machine, I fell into deep thought. Pub future ads. The entire US government mobilizes the state apparatus. I don't know how many researchers are simulating the human body recognition of people in white masks. But Nick Fury looked at the pile of words on the paper. So angry that he threw it aside. No such person. The whole earth was turned upside down by this man. Still saying things like this. However, Nick Fury finally calmed down. He knew it wasn't an issue on Congress's side. The technology mastered by the White Masked Man is too ahead of its time. Thinking of this, Nick Fury sighed more and more. Now. The phone on his desk rang. Nick Fury, I don't care what method you use, enter the war preparation now. Once the next game starts, no matter what method is used, even if it is to completely destroy the location, it will not hesitate. Nick Fury knew that Pierce was already in a state of rage. For the World Security Council, what they need is to stabilize the overall situation of the whole world, so that they can ensure that the power in their hands is not cut off. Nick Fury couldn't refuse Pierce's orders. After all, this is his boss, and he has no better way to solve these things at the moment. After hanging up the phone, Nick Fury couldn't help but mutter, the world will change dramatically. Chen Dao, who came home from school. Sit with the growing strength in your body. My heart is filled with great confidence. The place where Chen Dao lives is in the poorest corner of Hell's Kitchen. When I went home, I naturally saw that many criminals were active. Everyone smelled of blood, and they had a lot of lives on their hands. Chen Dao deliberately walked towards the alley. Sure enough, there were many gangsters holding blades, wanting to get money from Chen Dao. In his original memory, Chen Dao was often robbed. If the gangsters couldn't get money from Chen Dao's body, they would usually beat him up hard. The same is true today. Boy! Take out all the money on your body, or don't blame me. Saying that, the gangsters laughed. Chen Dao shot expressionlessly, extremely ruthless. In the blink of an eye, a person's head is twisted off, directly twisted 180 degrees. Such a terrifying picture scared the group of domineering gangsters to the point of bloodlessness. The timid only felt that his legs were soft, and he almost didn't pee. Chen Dao continued to strike, and the same person was twisted and broke his neck. The remaining gangsters became more and more frightened. While begging for mercy, they kowtowed and bled. In order to be able to survive. But how could Chen Dao show mercy to his subordinates? Which of these people in Hell's Kitchen is a good person, and they are all full of evil? His speed is amazingly fast. The gangsters only felt a flash in front of them, and their legs were broken. Chen Dao trampled off the limbs of these gangsters. In their wailing and fear, their lives were ended. These criminals under extreme fear can get several times the containment value of that group of high school students. Chen Dao was very satisfied. After dealing with the situation here, he calmly returned home. At this time, there happened to be a few gangsters guarding their doorstep. This is your house? The management fee has not been paid this month. Chen Dao did not expect that there were gang members who collected protection fees and received their own heads. He immediately moved, and a few seconds later, several gang members collapsed to the ground. Chen Dao's powerful strength made them all feel fear. One by one, they were shouting, "You can't move us, we are Montenegrin." Montenegro. That's right, if you don't want to get into big trouble, you will let us go. After hearing this, Chen Dao ignored these people and killed these people on the spot. It seems that tonight's action will start in this Montenegro. Night falls. Hell's Kitchen, where sin and madness are intertwined, begins to come alive. Chen Dao also left home. Because it's just a small gangster who doesn't get into the stream, and some peripheral members of the gang. These people have no strength or connections, and they don't even have a few guns in their hands. After solving a few people who stood in the way, Chen Dao walked towards the place of Hell's Kitchen. That's the real underground world of New York. It is a place where countless gangsters are entrenched. Including Kim Hee, also there. Didn't think of it. A person who makes SHIELD and the whole world fearful, at this time, will actually look for gangsters in Hell's Kitchen. Montenegro is just inside Hell's Kitchen, a small gang of only a few dozen people. It took Chen Dao a little time to find the stronghold of this gang. Several gang members stood at the gate of the stronghold. When they saw Chen Dao coming over, they immediately stopped in front of him. "Where is the smelly boy?" this is not the place where a child like you who has not yet been weaned should come. Chen Dao glanced at these people, I'm here to be the boss. His words immediately aroused the ridicule of these gang members. The gang members laughed, you won't be here to make us happy, don't cry and go home and call your mother when the time comes. But before the gang members could wait, they wanted to continue to ridicule Chen Dao. A sharp knife suddenly appeared in Chen Dao's hand. One of the gang members didn't have time to react, so he was kicked and flew into the wall by Chen Dao, and then nailed his palm to the wall with a knife. The scene froze at once. Everyone's smiles stiffened at the moment. What happened before was too sudden, forever beyond their expectations. Chen Dao looked at the gang members coldly. Still laughing. The gang members endured severe pain, and when they saw Chen Dao's mockery of themselves, they suddenly became angry. Little bitch, tomorrow I'm going to cut off your head. But Chen Dao pulled out a sharp knife and cut his throat with one sword. The gangster covered his neck, blood flowed all over the ground, and fell unwillingly to the ground. The surrounding gang members saw Chen Dao so ruthless, and they all beckoned people over. Soon from last year, there were quite a few gangsters with gun. Chapter 16. A man who appeared to be a small leader saw that a high school student had actually killed their stronghold. The face became ugly. When even a high school student dares to find us Montenegro. The little leader seemed to have been greatly insulted. He turned his head and said to the person next to him, kill him, not everyone can provoke Montenegro. After receiving the order, several gang members armed with machetes rushed towards Chen Dao. But Chen Dao solved it in an instant. The little boss became even more angry. Holding the gun and the people around him, he began to shoot at Chen Dao. With Chen Dao's current physical fitness, it is natural to deal with ordinary people, but thermal weapons can still tear his body. In an instant, Chen Dao turned on the lock. The whole person fell into a state of invincibility. You must know that in the hands of this gangster, there are submachine guns. The power is amazing. More than a dozen guns fired together, absolutely shocking. But they saw a scene that was unimaginable in this life. The seemingly thin high school student in front of him actually resisted their bullets and walked towards the stronghold step by step. The powerful bullet fell on his body and did not have the slightest effect at all. It didn't even stop him. There was a scene that frightened everyone into stunned. I almost forgot to pull the trigger. Such a weird and terrifying scene made everyone nervous. They shot and backed away. But Chen Dao still easily broke through and casually solved the two members. Inside the stronghold, on the main seat of a table, sat Patton, the boss of the Montenegrin gang. Barton was also scared enough. He had never seen anyone who could completely ignore bullets. It's like a man of steel. Is this still human? It won't be a monster in human skin. Barton trembled even more. Looking at the city road that was getting closer, he pulled out his cold pistol. This kind of pistol, which can kill elephants, also has no effect on Chen Dao. This is the invincible effect of the SCP-096 skill. The ability of the rule system simply cannot be broken artificially. What these people do is just useless work. After firing several shots, Patton's hand trembled even more. He said he couldn't figure out when he had offended such a terrifying existence. The gangster boss who has been sealed for so many years has also enjoyed a lot, and he is naturally very desperate. With a wave of his hand, many gang members blocked in front of him, and some even threw grenades. However, no amount of firepower could stop Chen Dao's footsteps. Chen Dao was like a cat playing mouse, teasing this group of gang members. 10 minutes later, Chen Dao, who had obtained a lot of containment value, finally came to Barton. At this moment, Barton had long been slumped in his chair and had no strength to stand up at all. You, what are you going to do? Barton's face showed a look of horror. Then, only a scream was heard. Chen Dao folded Barton's hands and pinned them to the table. He ignored the anguished Barton. Turning his head, he said to the group of gangsters around him. Do you have any comments now? The atmosphere inside the entire stronghold was quiet. Everyone was shocked and silent by Chen Dao's strength. This is no longer a power that humans can have. No matter how vicious they are just ordinary people. How can you confront such a terrifying existence? Everyone did not dare to look into Chen Dao's eyes. Immediately afterwards, they all lowered their muzzles. Barton looked around him and knew it was all over. He can't be the boss of this gang anymore. Seeing this, Chen Dao nodded in satisfaction after scanning around. It seems that none of you have any objections. So now I'm your boss. All the gang members looked at each other after hearing this. Finally, remembering Chen Dao's previous horrific performance, he nodded hurriedly and said yes. This terrifying existence is enough to be their boss. The most important thing is Chen Dao's strength, which is really too ferocious. They are worried. If they did not agree to Chen Dao's request, none of them would be able to leave the stronghold. And at this moment, Barton also raised his head. Although now, he is in pain. But in the face of Chen Dao's might, he still spoke. You are now the boss of Montenegro. The Montenegrin members have already surrendered. They were really afraid of this fierce man. After all, Chen Dao was able to solve the existence of the entire gang on his own. Chen Dao took a look at the system at this time. I found that my containment value had grown a lot. That's more than you think. This put a smile on his face. Just a gangster of dozens of people can allow him to get so much containment value, if he cleans up the surrounding small gangs. That's definitely an extremely impressive number. Thinking of this, Chen Dao pulled the knife out of Barton's hands. Now tell me where the strongholds of the small gangs around me are. Barton was stunned all of a sudden, he didn't know what Chen Dao wanted to do. But soon he reacted and immediately said, are you going to do it to other gangs? Chen Dao nodded. Barton immediately became a little excited. Their Montenegrin gangs can only be regarded as unruly gangsters in Hell's Kitchen. Don't say it's a big man like Jin. Even if they are some third-rate gangsters, they are not opponents. The most important thing is small gangs like them, which are very numerous. Since Chen Dao wanted to solve these gangs, Barton naturally had no reason to refuse. Wait until these small gangs are solved, even if they are not the boss of Montenegro. Then his first place in Hell's Kitchen will also rise in the water. It's much better than it is now. Now he found a random piece of medical gauze and wrapped his hands. Without stopping, he took Chen Dao and began to go to the strongholds of other small gangs. They were the first to arrive, a small gang closest to them. The Viper Gang is their old enemy in Montenegro. The two gangs often fought each other, and they also lost a lot of people. The leader of the Viper Gang just walked out of the stronghold. Seeing Barton and the gangsters under him, his brows furrowed. Barton, what do you want to do? As soon as the words fell, a large number of members of the Viper Gang rushed out. Seeing this, Barton immediately smiled. Of course it's to solve you. Speak loudly. The leader of the Viper Gang's face instantly became ugly. The two sides are at loggerheads. All raised their muzzles. The atmosphere instantly became oppressive. Chapter 17. Now. Chen Dao slowly walked out from behind Barton. It's too much trouble. The leader of the Viper Gang on the opposite side heard Chen Dao's words and immediately pointed his gun at him. Where is the brat, dare to come out at this time? After saying these words, he felt an inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. Originally, he thought that he had thought too much, and was about to shoot the kid in front of him who didn't know the height of the sky. But unexpectedly, the weak Asian kid in his eyes. He walked towards himself without the slightest fear. A cruel smile immediately appeared on his face. Since there are such people who are not afraid of death, then first give them a warning to the Montenegrin gang. The leader of the Poisonous Tongue gang shot at Chen Dao at this time. A whole magazine was shot. The leader of the Viper Gang, who originally wanted to intimidate the Black Mountain Gang, was stunned in place at the moment. Including those subordinates behind him, their faces were also full of incredulity. Did you just see it? I wouldn't be blinded. I feel like I'm dreaming. Maybe you are hallucinating after drinking and drinking. All the members of the Viper Gang suddenly felt the incomparable madness of this world. How could someone hard connect a bullet with their body? This kind of strange thing, appearing in front of them, made them can't believe it. The leader of the Viper Gang exclaimed even more, "What trick are you playing this time?" Looking at the extremely shocking Viper Gang leader, Barton felt happy in his heart. Chen Dao's strength will make people feel extremely shocked every time he sees it. This time, he finally let others also feel the fear brought by Chen Dao. He ignored the words of the Viper Gang leader. Just laughed to himself. Now the scene has become extremely weird. The members of the Viper Gang looked at the people of the Black Mountain Gang opposite, they all smiled, and they all felt extremely humiliated. Chen Dao walked towards the stronghold of the Viper Gang step by step. The Viper Gang felt the invisible pressure. Facing Chen Dao, the leader of the Viper Gang knew that he couldn't just sit still. So he gritted his teeth and no longer schemed on the consumption of guns and ammunition. They wanted to completely solve this monster who was not afraid of bullets before Chen Dao came to them. But Chen Dao was locked down, and nothing could stand in his way. In a hail of bullets, he strolls idly. With a smile, he came to the leader of the Viper Gang. It's a bit guts, but I don't have that strength. Subsequently, Chen Dao slaughtered his men one by one in front of the leader of the Viper Gang. The disgusting smell of blood permeated the entire stronghold. Blood had already stained the entire ground. At last, everyone died with endless fear. Only the leader of the Viper Gang, who had already collapsed in fear in his heart, collapsed to the ground. See this scene. Everyone in the Montenegrin gang couldn't help but swallow their saliva. They knew that Chen Dao's strength was terrifying. But I didn't expect it to be so terrifying. In their eyes, Chen Dao at this moment was simply a demon crawling out of hell. It's so scary. They are all rejoicing. Chen Dao didn't attack them like this before, otherwise no one would be able to stand here alive. Barton would have been frightened and weakened, if not for the sake of saving face in front of his own hands. His will kneel in front of Chen Dao. Chen Dao returned to the leader of the Viper Gang. Send him to reunite with his men. After doing all this, Chen Dao returned to the Black Mountain Gang members. Don't be stunned, there are still many strongholds to go tonight. Chen Dao's words made Barton come back to his senses. Barton nodded his head in the other, and at this time his heart was completely surrendered to Chen Dao. Being able to be such a terrifying subordinate, other small gangs do not have this opportunity. Under Barton's leadership, Chen Dao's speed of cleaning up the small gang was very fast. Every to the stronghold of a small gang will set off a bloody storm. Chen Dao forced the members of these gangs into a state of extreme fear, and then executed them one by one. The members of the Montenegrin gang went from panic and shock at the beginning to numbness in the back. They never imagined that they would be able to clean up all the small gangs around them in one night. And it is still used such violent and bloody means. Tonight's events, even if it is countless years past, it will also be deeply imprinted in their minds. Just thinking about it will generate awe for Chen Dao from the bottom of my heart. After Chen Dao executed a gang leader, Chen Dao immediately looked at the system. The small gang of dozens and hundreds of people has been almost slaughtered by Chen Dao. The containment value has increased exponentially. It seems to have far exceeded Chen Dao's previous expectations. With so much containment value, you only need to save for a few more days, and I am afraid that the lottery will be held again at that time. He secretly said in his heart, this is indeed a better choice. Now, it's almost dawn. He didn't want to get into trouble during the day. There is still so much time before the next containment arrives. For a few days, he was going to sweep the entire Hell's Kitchen. He then instructed Barton to determine the strongholds of those big gangs as soon as possible, and then left this stage. Members of all Montenegrin gangs. Looking at Chen Dao, who was far away. One by one, they all came back from their numbness. Look at the whole neighborhood as a mess. Everyone was instantly intimidated. Where did this Nima come from for high school students? Such a terrifying, demon-like method is simply unimaginable. Time flies by. Over the course of 5 days, Chen Dao visited each gang one by one. It brought great fear to the entire gang of Hell's Kitchen. Chen Dao's very spicy style made everyone who knew his name terrified. It also made a rumor circulate throughout Hell's Kitchen. Never go near the old streets of Hell's Kitchen. There was an extremely terrifying Asian ruthless man out there. Kill a gang at every turn. This kind of bloody method is not common in Hell's Kitchen. Countless gangs have been frightened by Chen Dao. Many large gangs that were originally close to the old streets received the news and actively avoided it one by one. Everyone is afraid of running into this Asian ruthless man, known as the devil. You must know that in the hands of this ruthless person, few people can survive. No one wants to touch a starry mold at such a time. Although the gangsters are arrogant, they are not fools. How could someone take the initiative to provoke such a terrifying existence? Chapter 18. The Other Side. The high school where Peter Parker attended. These days have been extremely honest. Tomorrow, there will often be school bullies to bully students. It was since Chen Dao created those things before, everything changed. Everyone became cautious because of this. Walk among the school buildings. Everyone is afraid. I was afraid that Chen Dao, who was known as the demon, would suddenly appear in front of them. After all, compared to bullying school bullies, Chen Dao would really do something to kill. Of course, this is also a good thing for Peter Parker. At least for the first time, he studied at ease in the days when there was no school bullying. Because Fleischer, the school bully, dropped out of school long ago after breaking his leg. Where else dare to stay here? If he really let Director Chen see it next time, I am afraid that he really will not be able to save his life. It's just that in his mind, Chen Dao's cold-blooded and ruthless appearance before has always appeared. Just after school, Peter Parker was getting ready to go home. Ned chased after him. Parker, do you know the news that has been circulating in Hell's Kitchen lately? Peter Parker had always been a good student and had never cared about what was happening inside this chaotic street. When did you start paying attention to this kind of news? Ned gasped. He spoke. Chen Dao has solved many gangster organizations in Hell's Kitchen, but I have seen it with my own eyes. Hearing this, Peter Parker was a little shocked. I didn't expect Chen Dao to be so terrible. The kind of means of dealing with school bullies in high school is already daunting. But now even the criminals, gangsters with guns, all planted in Chen Dao's hands. It is hard to imagine what kind of strength Chen Dao has. After the two talked about it, Ned left the school. Peter Parker also walked in the direction of home, and Chen Dao's face kept appearing in his mind. What happened to that guy is like a changed person. Now, Peter Parker walked down a street. The street is a short distance from Hell's Kitchen. At this time, he suddenly heard an unusual voice. When I looked up, I found that it was an extremely familiar face. Chen Dao? Why is he here? Peter Parker suddenly thought of Hell's Kitchen in the distance. Did you say? He reacted immediately and quickly found a corner to hide. He saw that in front of Chen Dao, there was a strong man with a tattooed flower arm, who was trembling and retreating. Peter Parker seemed to have the impression that this man seemed to be in the hands of a gang on a nearby street. In the hands of the strong man, but with a pistol. But compared to the defenseless Chen Dao, he is like a prey. When Peter Parker saw this scene, he also began to panic. Staring intently at Chen Dao. As Chen Dao kept approaching the strong man, The strong man seems to have resigned himself. After a few casual shots, the pistol, which had long been empty of magazines, was thrown on the ground. Chen Dao also mercilessly executed the gang leader. Then Chen Dao left here in stride. At this time, Peter Parker also thoroughly felt Chen Dao's very spicy means. He really dares to kill. Looking at Chen Dao in the distance, Peter Parker slowly calmed his mood. Slowly came out of the corner. He was silent at the moment, not daring to say more than half a word. Peter Parker left the street in battle. When he first walked to the street, suddenly, I saw Chen Dao getting into a black car. After Chen Dao got into the car, he rolled down the window. The eyes looked to this side. Peter Parker found Chen Dao looking at him, and he snorted. Scare yourself not lightly. Chen Dao is now in the eyes of Peter Parker, that is an out-and-out ruthless character. In front of Chen Dao, those gang leaders were like chickens and sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Peter Parker himself is just an ordinary high school student, and being able to move his body in the face of such a character is already good. The invisible pressure fell on Peter Parker. He wanted to stay away from himself, and he must not let Chen Dao pay too much attention to himself. And at this time, Barton, who was sitting next to Chen Dao. He also followed Chen Dao's gaze and saw Peter Parker. Chief, do you want to do him? After being a gang boss for so many years, Barton does things very crisply and neatly. As long as he has the opportunity to strike, he will definitely cut the grass and root the enemy. After hearing Barton's words, Chen Dao withdrew his gaze. He thought about the future Spider-Man thing. A smile immediately appeared on his face. Then he said to Barton, "That's not necessary, let's visit his house and tell him to be honest." Although Barton did not understand why Chen Dao would be obsessed with such a weak and deceivable high school student, but still do what Chen Dao said. Under some gestures, Patton's men immediately walked over. Peter Parker, who finally left, was framed by two strong men. This situation made Peter Parker's face instantly pale. When he was pulled in front of Chen Dao, he didn't understand when he had offended Chen Dao. Peter Parker, don't think too much, I just want to visit your uncle and aunt. Then two strong men stuffed Peter Parker into the car. Barton also threw a simple threat. Peter Parker led everyone to Uncle Ben's house. Uncle Ben and Aunt May just opened the door. Seeing several tall and strong men standing behind Peter Parker, they were all startled in an instant. They both knew this nephew, and he was a good student. How could it be possible to get mixed up with these gangsters? And they can also be murderous characters without blinking. I'm afraid it's not my nephew who offended these people. In an instant, Uncle Ben and Aunt May broke out in a cold sweat. Quickly pulled Peter Parker and apologized to Chen Dao. Both are clear. Once targeted by gang members, the trouble is definitely not something they can solve. Chen Dao looked at the three of them and spoke. Peter Parker, I just want to give you a wake-up call, and be honest in the future. After speaking, Chen Dao took a deep look at Peter Parker, and then left with Barton and them. Peter Parker and they looked at Chen Dao's departing back, and it took a long time to come back to their senses. Just now all three people were frightened. At this moment, Peter Parker was completely afraid of Chen Dao. This classmate of his own seems to have become a real underworld boss. Sit back in the car. Chen Dao looked at the system. A new week is coming. The containment incident should come soon. Presumably this time the system will not disappoint him. Perhaps the hidden characters on the Earth, as well as various forces, will be forced to jump out in this incident. At that time, the containment value